You're listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Pew, pew, pew. Hello, friends. It's This Week in Clown World on a Friday. Again, due to some technical difficulties last night. You're in Clown World. I'm Hobbs. He's Ben. This is This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. We're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Tonight's show, there's not a whole lot of importance to talk about. We don't have Simon tonight. He's a little bit busy. But we've got...
with his special lady friend.
Yeah.
So all of you that thought Simon was a lonely basement dweller, debunked.
Yes. Simon does have a life outside of international news.
It involves a lady friend, so outstanding.
Yes, very good.
I mean, the main issue Simon would have been talking about is probably that assassination attempt, I imagine. We'll touch on that later.
Right. Another right-wing populist figure attempted assassination. We've got the bitter, danger-haired feminists are angry at football kicker man. We've got a Supreme Court justice is in the news for flying the flag of distress.
I saw that. I just saw the headline. I didn't read an article about it. So, yeah, let's hit on that one. I'm not sure what that one was about. We have Trump agreed to some debates.
Yep. Basically gave them all of their stipulations. I guess he's either supremely confident or somebody's whispering in his ears bad advice again.
Hey, what do you want? Let's talk about Football Man first.
Okay.
I mean,
stupid, mindless pop culture reference out of the way first.
Yeah. I think it's funny too that he's on the same team as Kelsey, the feminist golden boy at this point because he's dating Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I saw a good comparison that said that Travis Kelce slammed a beer at a graduation and encouraged kids to party in college, and he was, praised for it. Whereas Catholic man goes to Catholic university, says Catholic things to Catholic students, and he's suddenly the boogeyman now.
Well, and the bad part is the Catholic school came out and tried to distance themselves from him also. Did you see that?
Well, I would then say that Catholic school isn't worth a shit, because absolutely nothing that guy said was wrong. If you read the transcript or you watch the entire speech instead of the cherry-picked comments that blue-haired weirdos on TikTok are telling you to be outraged about, there was sound advice for young men and women, both. He wasn't just picking on women, telling them, get in the kitchen and be barefoot and pregnant. No, it was advice. He's like, yeah, you've been basically lied to your entire life that it's school, college, career, work in a cubicle until you die. And that's why this country has a antidepressant addiction right now that has never before been seen. I heard somebody say it the other day that this country is objectively better than at any point in human history, and subjectively everyone is miserable. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and don't forget the hormone therapy that most women are all on too when it comes to birth control.
That's true.
I don't know if your wife was ever on birth control, but mine was, and it made her slightly bonkers sometimes.
Yeah, the last time my old lady got on birth control, she had like an episode, and we decided not to do that anymore. Yeah, you're manipulating your endocrine system. It cannot be a good thing.
So you've got antidepressants being pumped in. You got their endocrine system being jacked with, and it's causing them to dye their hair blue and get mad at Football Man, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the text of his speech wasn't. it wasn't off the cuff either. I mean, it was well prepared, well written. For I don't know what his background is, but for a football guy, it was pretty good. A pretty good speech. Um, and instantly, the NFL distanced themselves from him. Like I said, the Catholic school distanced themselves from him. Conservative people embraced it 100%, obviously.
Obviously. And apparently it's not just it might just be conservative people, but it should be an indicator to the NFL in general, the Kansas City Chiefs in particular, and the larger public zeitgeist as a whole that uh, up until this point, the number one and number two jersey sales was Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And now this guy is up in the number two slot. He surpassed Patrick Mahomes. So it goes Travis Kelsey, Harrison Butker, and Patrick Mahomes. And in addition to that, the women's cut of his jersey is completely sold out now. So what does that tell you?
I mean, we didn't touch on this last week, but I think the story is from a couple weeks ago where the left was going crazy because what was it, Lauren Southern? Or, I don't,
Yeah.
do you know the background on that story?
I watched a couple of videos about it. I'm not 100%, so I'm probably going to get some of this wrong. But Lauren Southern's a Canadian gal. She was kind of a darling of the, I don't want to say like alt-right because that has the sort of like white nationalist, the connotation to it. But before the alt-right was associated with, dipshits like Richard Spencer and white nationalism and stuff like that, the alternative right, think like Stephen Molyneux and Alex Jones and those types of people, right? She was kind of a darling of that the online alternative right scene. And
I forgot about that group. You had Lauren Southern. There was a couple other, the guy that wore the night mask or whatever. Am I shoe on head? Was she part of that? Was that part of that whole sphere there?
Well, there was what they called the skeptosphere. And she was kind of in that Venn diagram, but she was more of on the right wing's commentary side of things. And then she did a couple of really good documentaries about the immigration crisis in Europe coming out of the Middle East. She did a really good one about the history of apartheid in South Africa and how the Rainbow Nation is now just like basically turning into a third world hellhole because they kind of swung too far in the other direction. And then the last couple of years, she just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And I didn't really think much of it. I figured she just kind of, candle that burns twice as bright is going to burn out twice as fast, right? So apparently she got into an online relationship with an Australian guy, ended up marrying him, gave up her career, and ended up getting into a trad wife lifestyle and relationship, but not the real trad wife, like homemaker, mother type of thing, but like the online exaggerated caricature of what a traditional gender role
wearing
is.
An apron around the house and
like the guy goes to work and work and comes home, where's my dinner, punches her in the eye and shit like that. And of course that's exaggerated, but that's exactly kind of what she got herself into, was an exaggerated caricature of what you almost like the left's idea of what a trad wife is, completely subservient to her husband, does 100% of the things around the house. And from what I can tell, the guy that she ended up marrying ended up being an asshole, like a legit abusive asshole. And so she got out of the relationship, and now she's kind of, I guess, maybe floating back into the commentary scene, which, good for her. She was good at it. I'll give her that. But she's kind of floating back into it. She did this interview with with somebody talking about her experience with this And the videos I watched, one of them was a lotus eaters, and they're like, yeah, don't get into the TikTok, YouTube caricature of tradwifery, right? If you want to adhere to traditional gender roles, do it healthily, and she wasn't doing it in a healthy way.
You know, the week before this, I don't know if you saw this one too. The left was going crazy over some trad wife type person they were living in California. COVID happened. They fled California for South Dakota. Did you see this one? And this lady was, you know, she would post the trad wife type curated thing.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, she's like, all right, everything was a disaster. We're moving back to California. And the left was like, yep, see, this just shows trad wife can't work. Well, this, as you know, I'm familiar with South Dakota. I did a little research, and this person moved from California to the plains of South Dakota and tried to just buy some cows and start a garden. And like all her cattle died. She couldn't grow shit. Her husband and her lost a bunch of money. And it's like, no, that's not a failure on living a traditional lifestyle. That's a failure on moving to the plains of South Dakota from California. People experiencing growing shit can't grow shit on the plains of South Dakota. But
it's like sod.
Yeah. I mean, the topsoil is about 6 inches deep, and below that it's hard clay. Your winters are -50, your summers are 110. There's a reason the land is cheap out there and nobody settled there. But the left just grabs these failures because these people try and curate an online thing and say how great it is. And they're like, well, see, look, it's not actually that great. So they're doing a lot more harm than good, I guess, you see from all these people.
Yep.
And it's just a bunch of ding-dongs looking for internet clicks.
Yeah, that's what it is. You got these curated, stylized, storybook, unrealistic versions of what a traditional lifestyle is. Like, I'm going to move from LA to the plains of South Dakota and homestead. And it's like,
homestead, that's right. That's what they called it.
Yeah, it's like, no, no. Like, I sometimes I fantasize about homesteading, and I'm like, I don't have enough hours in the day to do the shit that I need to do as it is, let alone do all of the stuff that would be required. You know, homesteading is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do homesteading, you're going to realize that whatever you're doing to make a living right now, you're going to have to quit your job.
And for fuck's sake, do it in the backwoods of Tennessee or Alabama or something where you don't have a winter. There's a reason all this land was empty for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to homestead, do it in the South. Don't do it out on the plains of South Dakota. I mean, people died left and right homesteading those areas. Whole towns would get wiped out from one bad winter. Everybody's packed up their shit and said, we're out of here. And now they're trying to homestead there. And I follow some of these homestead things too. And all the people doing it in Tennessee or South, you know, in the South, they have a much easier time. You need fuel. You need fuel because it's a cold winter. Go cut down a tree. Need fuel because it's a cold winter in the plains of South Dakota. Well, good fucking luck. Burn some cow turds.
I was about to say, go scoop up some cow patties because that's about all you're going to have to burn out there.
Yeah. So I'm not shitting on the homesteading lifestyle. I mean, it's probably a very rewarding lifestyle. Just do it in the right place.
Right.
Not that anybody's thinking of homesteading that would be listening to this and that was their two random internet guys telling them it's a dumb idea. But trust us, we live out this way. Don't do it. It's harsh territory.
It's harsh territory. It's a full-time job. It's up before the sun and to bed long after the sun has set. Mm-hmm. And it's hard labor, especially if you're developing a plot of land that doesn't have any infrastructure. Like if you have the money and you go out and buy a farm that's already set up, that's one thing. You're still going to be working your ass off. But if you buy a bare plot of land and expect to be able to just like, oh, I'm going to put up a timber frame house and I'm going to dig a well, and it's like, the fuck you are. There's probably a reason nobody has done that yet.
Yeah. And,
It's like, my brother in Christ, it's the year of our Lord 2024. There is no unexplored land in this country anymore.
I mean, that's what people want, but it may seem unexplored because you're out there all by yourself, but there's a reason you're all by yourself. Somebody's already tried it and failed probably multiple times.
Yes, there may have been some death involved.
Yeah. Whereas if you're moving into Appalachia, the only reason it's barren is because there's no jobs. So that's ideal for homesteading.
Or because the kudzu will get you.
The kudzu, yeah. But to circle back to the whole Butker thing, yeah, I mean, he's pushing a traditional lifestyle, got shit on. Now apparently the Catholic Church is disagreeing. He lit up Biden for Biden's abortion stance.
Yep.
I saw somebody ask Biden, will Butker be invited to the White House if they win again?
Probably wouldn't go even if he was invited.
That's assuming Biden will win again.
Maybe they know something we don't.
So that kind of segues into the presidential debates there. What a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Trump says he wants to have our RFK in the stage too. And whoever,
does he now?
Yeah. Like the Biden team said, it's got to be in a closed TV studio with no live audience. There's going to be 2 debates. It has to be at this time. Has to be just the 2 of them.
What was the microphone cutoff thing? Did you see that?
Yeah, it was the microphones will be shut off when it is not that speaker's turn to speak. And that's just because, Trump is so bombastic and he'll just come out with a comeback or a pithy name or
All
something.
right, they're going to be in a little tiny studio. I doubt it's going to matter.
Unless they're in their own soundproof booths.
Yeah, Biden's
which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising me. Biden's in a completely different studio. Trump's in another, and like that old TV show where the guy was in the booth with the headphones on.
Yep.
It would surprise me if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, it would be. I mean,
Trump said he wants to go for 2 hours too because he figured Biden couldn't last that long.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure that they're going to hop him up on a meth cocktail or something.
I'm sure that's what he was thinking. He wants to try and outlast the drugs that they're pumping into him.
Mm-hmm. They'll have him on a slow drip underneath of his suit jacket. It's like, okay, Mr. Biden, all you have to do is squeeze your elbow a little bit whenever you need to give yourself a little bump.
I don't think I think they'll pull out of it for some reason. I don't think they'll let him debate Trump. You can't let him debate Trump.
Well, one of the debates is going to be before the DNC, and I am of the mind that this is the DNC's decision. Will put Biden in this debate, and if he completely flubs it, that will be the golden parachute that we need to dump him. Like, you couldn't even handle one debate against Donald Trump. You're going to have to step aside.
Shits his pants on live TV.
Yep.
There was some good footage of Biden was walking down a runway or something. He got off the plane and he stopped for a second. And did you see that video? And the commentary was, everybody's had a toddler knows what this stance is.
Exactly. It's oh.
And Jill Biden was standing there and she kind of looks at him and then just looks away and shakes her head a little bit. It's like, oh, he's shitting his pants again.
Made boom boom.
I'd love to see that just on stage, and he stops for a second. You just hear. Cut to commercial. Cut to commercial.
We haven't even started yet.
It's going to be a total shit show. That debate.
Either that, or they're going to have some type of an AI thing.
Because if they separate studio booths and you have AI Biden.
Yep, wouldn't surprise me one bit if he comes out and just absolutely slaughters it, and it's because it's an AI generated Biden that has access to the entire internet.
Or even just some guy in a mocap suit,
Yeah, that works too. They've been peddling all these lies, like, oh, inflation was 9% when I took office. Is 1.4. It peaked at 9.
Oh, the Biden lie tape, I mean, starting back from when he still had hair
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, it was surprising they even caught him on everything back then. You know, reporters actually did research and would call out Democrats for spewing bullshit, but just all the stuff he spews, the cannibals, uh, he was a professor. What else? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And some of the stories, they like even evolve over the years. They show like early versions of it, and he just keeps adding to them. He doesn't even know where the truth is now.
Well, that's the thing about somebody who's a narcissistic liar like that, is that he thinks that the more detail he adds, the more believable it seems.
Yeah, he's
You
been
know,
raised by Puerto Ricans, blacks, Greeks, Polish,
Irish, Italians,
Irish.
Jews. He went to that interfaith non-denominational church every Sunday.
I go to the temple more than most people in here probably. I saw that one. It's like, oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yep. That corn pop was a bad boy. Ran a bunch of bad dudes with a rusty razor blade. He'd bang it on the sidewalk. It's like, what?
And you see more and more interviews where, you know, even MSNBC showed one where they had three young people. It was a black guy, a black woman, and a white guy. None of them were supporting Biden.
Yeah.
I'm surprised MSNBC even let it air.
Well, they've got their marching orders from the people who really run the show that it's time to start soft pedaling the narrative, begin the pivot away from Biden. That way, when we drop his ass or get him to respond for medical reasons, or God forbid, have to invoke the 25th Amendment because he finally shits his pants on stage and we can't hide it anymore, then it's not going to come as quite the system shock
I
that it
mean, just
would.
his decline over these last 3.5 years is amazing. If you see him from the beginning of the primaries for the Democrats to now, I mean, it's just a rising graph of, you know, or downward graph, like a steep slope of his cognitive abilities.
Well,
I
if
mean,
there's one thing that we know about about Joe Biden, is that he loves those graphs with near vertical inclines.
yeah. All the weird shit. I hate his whisper thing he does. Have you ever watched any of his speeches? When, hey, and then he starts whispering. It's like, what in the fuck? Why do you?
And then the next sentence he's shouting,
Yeah,
angrily shouting.
pal, buddy.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
everything about the guy drives me crazy. And Trump has a lot of eccentricities too, but his are funny, not creepy and grating like Joe Biden's.
Yeah.
Just nothing to like about the guy.
Yeah. No. He keeps kind of trying to lean into that grandfatherly, fun Uncle Joe. And he was able to get away with that when he was the vice president because the spotlight wasn't on him. But, as we've become more and more familiar with him being front and center, it's like, wow, he's not Uncle Joe in the sense of the, fun guy you go out and have a beer with. He's Uncle Joe, as in like the pervy uncle that you don't invite
Yeah.
to Thanksgiving anymore.
Yeah, I saw Van Jones and Carville are starting to turn on him. So the last two Democrat dynasties are pretty much done with him. You have the Clinton dynasty and the Obama one are
Yep.
trying to distance themselves and get rid of him.
Yep.
What did we have? Oh, we missed something from Jeremiah Johnson. What shitty legislation or other bullshit will happen in the background where all the normies are distracted? That's a good question. What would be going on while we're distracted this week? Who knows?
I haven't really heard much about anything coming down the pipe. I'm sure that something stupid, some dumb spending bill, or some other way that they could spy on us or call us all anti-Semites for having an opinion on an ethnic cleansing campaign on the other side of the world, or
Yeah, they're cracking down on that. I saw they were sending riot teams into campuses now.
yeah. But I would sure love to have that energy when literal communists are talking about death to America, or jihadist sympathizers are or people are looting and burning down our inner cities. It's
Yeah.
like, oh God, kid gloves approach. Don't want to look like a fascist. Say some mean words about a foreign country, and suddenly it's fucking riot squads are out.
When is the Democrat convention? That thing is going to be spicy if this whole Palestine thing is still going on.
The Democrat convention in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
They're talking about it going virtual.
Oh, well, go figure.
Yeah, more than likely precisely because of that.
I didn't see that. Have they been saying that for a while now?
I've heard about it the last 2 or 3 days. They're running the possibility of a virtual DNC convention.
DNC is preparing for the worst in Chicago without the help of the city's mayor. Trumping the success of the COVID era convention 4 years ago virtually. Some in Biden's orbit are aggressively pushing to make the 2024 convention a hybrid production. That would mean in-person speeches from the president, party luminaries, and rising stars to draw television alongside a mix of pre-recorded testimony and videos from other parts of the country. The goal, drive viewership on television and the internet while minimizing live programming and openings for protests in Chicago. There you go. Well, problem solved, I guess. Modern problems require modern solutions, huh?
Yep. Don't have to deal with protesters if the protesters don't know where to show up.
That is not going to sit well with their base. There's no way.
It comes off as cowardly is what it comes off as.
Elitist too.
Yeah, that too. I don't need to bother myself with the concerns of the plebeians. I'm just going to Skype this one in.
So
okay.
I guess if they don't have it open and it's just Biden and their rising stars are in there, they can just lock the whole thing down, just hold it in an unknown location, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and who's to say that the in-person speeches are actually going to be in person? Or even live, for that matter. Who's going to hold them to account?
Yeah, I was just thinking. So, yeah, the mayor of Chicago pretty much says, you know what, this is your guys' shit show. Figure it out.
Takes the old Pontius Pilate approach and washes his hands of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess videos of the 1968 convention in Chicago were floating around, which was, I think somebody died in that one even during those ones. Back when cops were cops.
And on most instances of breaking the law, not just shit talking about Israel.
Yeah. I mean, they were actually protesting something worthwhile.
Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that the Jews slaughtering the Palestinians isn't worthwhile, but it's not as relevant to America as I think a lot of people believe.
It wouldn't be relevant at all if we'd stop sending them money and guns.
To the funny hat guys.
Yeah. Speaking of us sending money and guns for whatever reason, the U.S. I think it was the State Department got Colt Defense like a $21.8 million contract to produce M4s to send to Israel.
This is what Simon was talking about that I didn't even think about. And I was like, why the fuck would Israel want weapons when they got IWI and one of the most, and he's like, for the settlers. They're just giving them out to every Israeli. I mean, I guess every single Israeli citizen gets a free gun from America at this point.
Yeah, you got that, and I think that's probably also just a bailout program for Colt, because Colt can't find their ass with both hands and a map. They got bought out by CZ a couple of years ago, but
I haven't even, I stopped by the gun. You probably stopped by the gun shelf more than I do at your local places. I don't think I've seen a Colt.
Yeah, Colt is really, really, really bad about catering to the civilian market. They recently got their revolver line back up and running after multi-decade hiatus, and that seems to be what they're leaning into as far as their commercial market goes. But yeah, Colt AR, you can hardly find them, and when you can, they're overpriced.
Is it a quality? Is it a quality AR though? I don't know much about Colt's
It's
products.
mid-range.
It's mid.
It's basic. It's there's nothing special. There's nothing terrible either. They're just, you can get a better gun from BCM or Daniel Defense for less money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
You're just paying
free
for the name.
free military industrial complex handout to
Yep.
arm Jewish settlers, I guess.
Yeah, something.
Huh. Well, this whole I don't know. We talked about it before. There's no accounting on anything going into Ukraine. There's probably no accounting on anything going to Israel. Just we're looting. The empire is having the coffers looted at this point.
Oh, they ran dry a long time ago. Now we're just piling up a stack of IOUs.
Well, and that's what all the migrants are doing. They come in here, get some money, and just send it off to their family.
Yep.
And that keeps popping up for Biden too, and they just ignore it. The whole immigration issue. They tried to pin some of the policies on Trump that were enacted by Obama. They say it all the time. You know what? Do you want us to start separating children from their families again?
Like, do you want us to start putting kids in prison?
Yeah, that's why Obama started. I mean, I'm not gonna give Obama credit for anything, but that's why he was doing it. What are you gonna send these kids? Here you are. You're in Los Angeles County Jail with your kid. Good luck. Hope you both don't get raped.
Yeah, it's, if you get caught drunk driving in Los Angeles and you have your kid in the car, you're going to jail. Your kid is going to not fucking jail.
We're separating families from their children.
Yeah.
So, and they say that talking point all the time on immigration. And,
yeah.
I had a thought the other day. I think if we're going to, part of our policies which had immigration is, yeah, you can come in, but you have to show us you renounce your citizenship where you're coming from. If you're coming here, you're burning the boats.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know about that. I think that you could probably get away with either heavily taxing or outright banning remittances to foreign countries. It's like, oh, I want to Western Union this back to Bakalakadakistan, and it's like, no,
Yeah,
just no. We're gonna keep that money here.
You're gonna fuck it up, and that sets another precedence too. If you're gonna fuck it up while you're here, you don't have an escape route. Then you're not sending your money to wherever while you're living here, and then just leaving once you build up a nest egg.
Yeah.
If you're gonna fuck it up, you're stuck here like the rest of us. Jeremiah said, watch the video Europa the Last Battle if you want to understand what's going on in the world right now. Last time I went to a site with Europa in it, I think I got on the list. Speaking of that, totally off topic, I have YouTube Music, and it recommends playlists to me. It recommended to me Wehrmacht marching songs today for a playlist.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, whoopsies. Of course, I listened to Erica, the first one on the list, but top down on the Jeep blaring Erica. But I thought that was funny that I got recommended Wehrmacht marching tunes.
Yeah, but the real question is, are they any good?
A couple of them were okay. Not as good as I'd hope. Not as good as early American marching tunes.
Not as good as their uniforms.
Not but Erica, absolute banger. I'll play that anytime.
There you go.
But yeah, Europa the Last Battle. If you want to know what's going on, we'll have to check it out, Jeremiah. See what that's about. And for those that aren't aware, Europa was I think it still is a very naughty website. What else did we have? We can kind of jump into this one too. I don't know if this was a migrant or not. I think it was just a homeless person, but I talked about this video in the pre-show. Let me throw it up here. So to set this up, you got a New York City couple here. He's on a scooter. He's got like a boot hurt his foot or something. And a man approaches him to just ask how they're doing, I'm sure. Let me get the.
And
Got a knife. Oh, just randomly attacking this dude. Loses his knife. The other dude feels free to lay in some stab wounds. His wife helped. The dog gives him some kisses. He's just there for a good time. And would-be mugger gets his ass kicked, which is how it should be.
yeah. So awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of disappointed that the guy was able to just kind of walk away.
Yeah, what was he stabbed? He must have pulled a penknife on the dude or something. I mean, the story said he was put in the ICU and treated for multiple stab wounds. It didn't seem like he was gushing blood anywhere, but
maybe it's like an ice pick or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But I've thought about this too. Crime's getting so bad in these places. The criminals are acting like they don't have to worry about getting caught. At what point is your average person going to realize they can act without getting caught too? Pull some bullshit as a criminal, just end up getting bodied. No consequences for the people, that were going to be the victims.
Yeah, it's kind of a dangerous line that you have to walk right now because you have a lot of instances, anecdotal instances of these, whether they be an immigrant or they be a recidivist criminal with a rap sheet longer than your arm, and they just happen to be of a certain skin tone or religious persuasion or from a certain part of town, and they commit crime, get arrested, get off the hook. Commit a crime, get arrested, get off the hook. And just in and out, in and out, in and out of the prison. And then they fuck with the wrong person and end up getting bodied. And then that person gets the book thrown at them. We had the case of Daniel Penny there in New York. Crazy person starts threatening people on the subway. He gets up and detains him, ends up getting the guy in a chokehold, and unfortunately ended up killing the guy one way or the other. You have the case of Daniel Perry, who recently was pardoned
Yeah, I
down
was going to bring
in
that one up too. Texas.
down in Texas. 4 years in prison. There's a lot of conflicting narratives about what went on. One person said he ran a stoplight in order to get into the crowd because he was just looking for trouble, and other people were like, he took a wrong turn, didn't know the protest was there. But as it, some people were like, oh, the guy that got shot was lawfully open carrying, which is his right. I believe at the time, unfortunately, open carry of a firearm in Texas was not legal. Or maybe open carry of a pistol. Maybe open carry of a long arm was legal. Not 100% sure. But now, while I typically would agree or disagree with anti-open carry laws, the law is what it is until it's changed. And whether or not he was doing it lawfully or unlawfully, I think it's a pretty well-established fact now that he did brandish it, pointed it at Daniel Perry, which is not protected under the Second Amendment under any circumstances. And that got him a 44 Magnum. What made the Garrett Foster shooting somewhat amusing, for lack of a better term, was he was interviewed by a news crew just a few minutes before it happened, talking about how counter protesters were pussies and would never say shit to them. And then he's in a body bag a few minutes later. So, FAFO, I guess.
Yeah, well, and Texas has stand your ground laws, which I think every state that thinks they can pass that law should try to do it. I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah.
And once more states do that, I think you're going to see more of the FAFO going on with criminals.
Yep.
I mean, like this situation here is in New York, so I'm sure this couple will get in big trouble for whatever they did to this guy. But if they had a stand your ground law, they're good to go.
Well, I mean, it was there's the you have stand your ground laws, which say that you're able to stand your ground, and then other places have what's called a duty to retreat law.
Yeah, like Nebraska, you have to try and run away before you can. You have to. Well, I forget what the official word is, but you have to attempt all means of escape before you can do something.
Right. Considering that the one guy was in a boot and using a mobility scooter, I'd say the duty to retreat was fulfilled before it was even initiated.
Yeah,
Because you're not going to be too fast with that Chinese jump boot on your foot.
and he took the guy's weapon to boot.
Yeah.
About his boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious if these areas, it seems like they descend further and further into lawlessness. If at some point Joe Public's going to get sick of it and realize that the cops aren't coming if anything happens to me. Why are they going to come if anything happens to this guy?
Mm-hmm. And this is it's New York has got some crazy shit going on. I'm willing to bet that guy has probably had more than one brush with the law. I'm willing to bet that couple has a spotless record. And I'm willing to bet that couple is going to have their lives ruined by the system because they have a spotless record. Because it seems like the only crime that you can commit these days is undercutting the state. The state has their monopoly on violence, and if you do anything to undermine that and you make it seem like the state is useless and try to exercise any degree of independence from the state and its duties or whatever, then that's the ultimate crime. Undermining the sovereignty of the state is the big crime. Similarly, on that vein, the state and law enforcement agencies of New York having their priorities in exactly the wrong place. There's a there's a gentleman who got sentenced to a number of years behind bars for home gunsmithing.
I saw that. That was in the news for a minute, and then it just kind of vanished.
Yep, he went by the online handle of Carbon Mike, and I'm kicking myself because I know his name, and I cannot think of it. And you're gonna pull it up right now.
Dexter Taylor.
Dexter Taylor. There it is. Yes, I knew it was something with a DT.
Building firearms that he never shot.
Yep, never pulled the trigger on one of them. He was just a guy that was interested in how guns work. He had no sinister motives or anything like that. He just ordered some parts, had them sent to his door. The New York law enforcement got word that he might be doing something. They opened an investigation into him, and then they kicked in his door. He had like a number of 80% Glocks and a number of 80% ARs that he had built just because he wanted to, and he didn't know he was breaking any law.
A 52-year-old native New Yorker and software engineer who enjoys building things when he discovered the world of gun manufacturing. Believed he found a new hobby and a small business opportunity. Oh, well, that's where he went sideways then. He must have tried. Do you know much about it? How did he get caught?
He got caught because he was ordering parts, and I'm not 100% sure if his bank disclosed the information or if the New York law enforcement was going on just fishing expeditions to see, like, oh, has anybody in our state ordered something from Brownells? Oh, they did? What did they order? Oh, these are AR-15 parts. I wonder if he's making a New York compliant AR. We'd better open an investigation. Oh, looks like he ordered a pistol grip instead of a shark fin grip. We'd better go kick in his door. Yeah, he didn't try to sell. He didn't try to sell. He didn't even test fire his guns. He was just building them just for the sake of building them because he liked to figure out how things worked.
So it says here his attorney challenged the constitutionality of New York's gun control laws, arguing they are over restrictive and not in line with the Second Amendment. There was no criminal intent on Taylor's part. They explained in other cases, judges are dismissing defendants' Second Amendment claims because they did not apply for a license, meaning they lack the standing to make this defense. However, Varghese, in his motion to dismiss, used government data to show it would have been futile for Taylor to obtain a license since the state issues so few anyways.
Yeah, and in a bigger slap in the face, the judge actually out loud on camera said to take that Second Amendment argument and get it out here because that doesn't exist in my courtroom.
Yeah, it probably didn't help that he was conservative in New York. So
Yeah, and he's a black guy too. That's what's, the left loves to play the identity politics and talk about marginalized groups. Here's a black man not committing a crime, doesn't have a criminal record as far as I know, exercising his Second Amendment rights. He thinks he's following the law. He doesn't think he's committing any crimes. He's just building stuff because building stuff is a hobby and guns are just a thing to build.
I mean, they're interesting machines, some of them.
Yes, they're fascinating machines how they work.
You know, if you're a conservative leaning person and you're in a blue area, get the fuck out. I mean, anything that could happen to you, the judicial system has been so weaponized, they will just screw you. This guy got 18 years or something stupid. I mean, they threw the book at him.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet that they're going to appeal. It's going to go up to the circuit, probably go up to the SCOTUS. And I think that line about the Second Amendment doesn't exist in my courtroom is going to be all that an upper court needs to get this case completely thrown out on its ass.
So here's a quote from Dexter. I found out you can actually legally buy a receiver and you can machine that receiver to completion. And you buy your parts, you put them together, you got a pistol or rifle. And once I saw that, I was hooked. It was like the coolest thing ever. This is the most cool thing you could possibly do in your machine shop. Just a nerdy, conservative black man who found a neat machine to build.
Yep.
This machine kills communists. And they got rid of him.
This machine gets you 18 years in New York City.
Yeah.
Speaking of conservatives, as we come to the last 12 minutes of the show, if you are a conservative or even a slightly right of center political figure in the public eye,
Oh, I want to just
anywhere.
Gun Talk got us shut down on Facebook just now here, probably. Facebook just killed. There you go. Just wanted to let you. For example,
we're narrowing it down. Certain keywords. Yeah. But anyways, like I was saying, if you're a even remotely, slightly right of center political figure in the public eye, anywhere in the world, and you are not wearing body armor anytime that you're out in public, what is wrong with you? We had the attempted assassination of the Slovakian prime minister the other day.
I got the video here too.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I could throw that up. So go ahead and set it up. I'll get the video ready here.
Yeah, so this guy's name is Roberto Fico, or Fico. I've heard it said both ways. I don't know which one's correct. Fico.
The inventor of the credit score.
Yes. And he is he's the Slovakian prime minister. He's recently elected. He has held the office before, and in his previous term, there was a lot of corruption and other things thrown around, which, the guy's no saint, and the people he surrounds himself with are no saints. But at the same time, it's Eastern Europe. What do you expect? It's a former Soviet satellite country that it's Slovakia. It's the part that split off from the Czech Republic. Czech Republic is a well-functioning, well-developed first world country. Slovakia is kind of like the trailer park part of, yeah. I mean, granted, it's better than a lot of the other former Soviet republics, but it's, yeah. Anyways, his major crime seems to be that he doesn't want to give any aid to Ukraine. He says that Ukraine's made their bed, they can lay in it. He's more, I wouldn't say he's pro Putin, but he's more amenable to Putin. He doesn't think that Putin is the love child of Hitler and Satan, and is open to negotiating, peace talks. Says that this whole thing needs to be wrapped up. He's also somewhat against the European Union, and he's said some things in the past about the medical intervention, which shall not be named, in the last couple of years. So, of course, he's out in public, and roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. Here we go. Let me solo it. Guy in the white shirt.
Just moments
obviously.
after a gunman opened fire on Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico. He collapses as bodyguards bundle him into the car. Security officials say he was shot 5 times at close range. The alleged shooter pinned down, the suspect described by local media as a 71-year-old former security guard and activist. Taken by chop.
So yeah, gunned him down.
No, well, at least they have the guy so they can figure out exactly what the motivation was, who he might have been working for. I've heard that it's just, a guy that's a crazy person, and I've heard
it's a lone wolf, yeah.
Yeah, a lone wolf, and then I've also heard people say that Ukraine might be behind it, NATO might be behind it. Yeah,
I mean, nothing's bad ever come from an assassination in that area before, so I don't think we've got much to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, he's no Franz Ferdinand, but he's still a world leader in a volatile part of the world.
They said he was an activist. I mean, that seems like that would be something to explore there.
Yeah, what's he an activist for?
Well, so I mean, I've seen multiple headlines here saying it was politically motivated.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
They just shot at him just to shoot at him. No, but
what did they say his name? How do they say it? Fico?
Fico. Yeah,
Fico is the most powerful lawmaker in Slovakia, and like the president, whose role has limited scope, the prime minister holds rank as a decision-making head of government. And we talked about this before too. He might not. A lot of these countries, it seems like they're just pro-Putin because they're anti-Western. I mean, that's your option that you get to pick. If you're gonna be against Western degeneracy, you have to be pro-Putin, or that's how they paint you.
Yeah. It's like, can I hold the position that I'm not a fan of Putin, but I'm also not a fan of the prospect of my son being put on hormone blockers when he gets into school?
Yeah.
Can I have it both ways, or do I have to lean into Vladdy Poot Poot being the savior of Western civilization?
I think that's how they get painted, no matter what. If you're not with us, you're against us, I guess.
Yeah. And only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is an absolute.
Thanks for reminding me how terrible the Star Wars franchise is. Anyway, one of the worst lines in any of the movies, right up there with the sand one.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and itchy and gets everywhere.
Closing out, I guess we talked about the presidential debates already. I forgot to mention that apparently the Libertarian Party convention is a place for debates. We got Vivek now. We've got RFK Jr. showing up. Trump's going to be there. I mean, the LP should just pivot and try and take the place of the commission for what is it, the commission for presidential debates or whatever.
That would be
I
neat.
mean, take it over. Be the neutral ground there.
Yeah.
Then we can get our candidate thrown in at the same time. It's like, all right,
Bingo.
we'll host this neutral ground. We get to put our guy into. There you go.
Yeah.
We hate both of you equally, so we're going to treat you fairly.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, it's not going to be the soft bed of feathered pillows that Joe Biden's going to get at these debates, because it's going to be who was it? Dana Bash and one other CNN person is going to be the
Jake
moderator.
Tapper, wasn't
Jake
it?
Tapper, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are going to be the moderators. So it's
That's
like,
going to be some hard hitting questions right there.
Right, yeah. Trump's not debating Joe Biden. Trump's got a 3-on-1 hostile debate going
Which I
into.
think is still not enough for that guy. He seems to handle that shit pretty good.
He feeds off of it. You are fake news. You are fake news. You're a liar. Dana Bash, you're ugly.
I mean, they've got to be careful. They can't make it look like they're trying to gang up on Trump, because he's already positioned himself as, you know, the anti-establishment guy. So if in this debate, it's just, they just make it blatantly obvious that they're trying to silence Trump, that's not going to go the way they hope it would go.
Right. Oh, if as we're closing out here, if you guys are interested in things like debates and speeches and whatnot, I watched a YouTube video on my way home. A guy named Winston Marshall was the anchor man for a debate at the Oxford Union. It's like a 15-minute closing speech at the Oxford Union in which he was debating whether or not populism is a threat to democracy, which sounds retarded. He opened it up with, populism isn't a threat to democracy. Populism is democracy.
Yeah.
Because fucking, of course it is. It's right there in the name. But what made it the most interesting is that the I don't know if it's like the keynote speaker or the headliner maybe of the opposing side, the argument, was Nancy Pelosi.
Was she as brilliant back then as she is now?
Well, she didn't speak in the video that I saw. I didn't watch the entire debate. I just watched this Winston Marshall guy do the anchor, the very last closing speech of the debate. He brought up January 6th and how it was, said it's a dark day for America. And he's like, another dark day for America is when radical progressive protesters were occupying the Portland, Oregon, Capitol Hill area or whatever for weeks at a time. And Nancy Pelosi's in the crowd. She's like, there is no equivalency at all between these two events. And my thought was, yeah, the January 6th guys were let in by the police. They left when they were politely asked to leave, and all they did was meander around, whereas the Chaz was, it lasted several weeks. It was hostile, and there was a lot of arson. Some people got killed. So, yeah, you're right. You're right, Nancy. There is no equivalency between these two events, because the people in the Chaz were in general risk of being hurt or killed, whereas you and your buddies were in absolutely no risk whatsoever. Yeah, you're right. There is no equivalency. I'm sorry. Dumb
I got a clip I'm going to close out with about democracy, and I think of this after every election, or I hear about protecting our democracy. I'm sure you're going to recognize it as soon as I put it up.
Love this clip. But yeah, before we go ahead, yeah.
The greatest evaluation democracy ever, right here.
Because democracy basically means
self.
government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
After every election, I think of that guy.
I love the additional captions down there at the bottom. That was very, very good.
We in America have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But unfortunately, the people are retarded and getting dumber every day.
Yep. But it gives us something to talk about every week.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, you bunch of retards. Check us out on Roads and Number 2 Liberty on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble. If you're watching us from one of those, like and follow us on the other one. Thanks for joining us on the Friday. Sorry, we had to mix it. My computer was shit in the bed on Thursday, but thanks for taking your Friday to listen to us. As always, stay honky.